why don't people want to do virtual events anymore? This format is an opportunity that has opened up so many doors and removed so many barriers to people accessing things that they couldn't before, or businesses and companies and coaches and business owners and speakers being able to reach people that they couldn't before. So embracing that as a model is powerful. And people that aren't embracing that are locked into the old way. Hey everybody, welcome to Finding the Upside. Thank you for joining me today. I am so happy you are here. I have a shorty episode for you today, and today I am talking about resistance to change. So here's the thing. I've been thinking a lot about and reflecting on why people resist change. And really, it's very common, but resistance to change is really about comfort. People don't want to be uncomfortable. And I get that. We're all human. We can understand that. But one of the things that is really intriguing to me is people's resistance to change. And now that we are in this space where so many things are virtual, I think that it's really amazing how many people want to go back to the way things were. So many examples I could cite right now where there are many people that won't do virtual events anymore. And obviously, during the pandemic, that was a necessity that a lot of smart people moved to, even if they didn't want to, because they had no choice, right? And they always say, like, being innovative and doing things differently are situational. That's the mother of invention, is necessity, right? But why don't people want to do virtual events anymore? I've come across some events that I wanted to attend myself, and I couldn't, because I just couldn't travel at that time, or it conflicted with something, or I didn't have the bandwidth or the days, or whatever the case may be. But why wouldn't you want to do that? And I think part of it is because a lot of people associate it and think that it was a product of COVID. And, the flaw in that thinking, first of all, is that they're not seeing the upside in doing virtual events. That opens up a whole new market to be able to reach people and to be able to make your events and your voice and your products and your programs more accessible to so many more people in other countries as well. And I think holding on to thinking that it was part of the pandemic is so flawed, because prior to COVID, we had things that were virtual. I've been doing webinars, and I've been doing WebExes. That was the old system. Now I think it's GoToMeeting, or maybe WebEx is still in existence. There's so many tools that we've been using for 25 years. Teleconferencing, video conferencing. It's just that COVID kind of made it more norm, more mainstream, more accessible and familiar, right? So the flaw in the thinking of saying, I'm not going to do virtual events, or I'm just going to do only live events, can really limit you. Here's something to share. One of the biggest, most successful personal development masters, Tony Robbins, even only during COVID was convinced to do a virtual events because he didn't have a choice. And it was during COVID the first virtual Unleash the Power Within, which was an amazing success. It was proven that it can be done. Now, so much so, that was such a success that now, out of COVID, last year, 2022, was the first year, and this, 2023, is the second, that there is only one live version of Unleash the Power Within. And all the other dates and runnings of that event and other events he does, all of them are virtual. There's only one live event now. Amazing. So for people who are not embracing that this is a reality, they haven't dealt with their own bias about what that's about. And another thing about how people push back on Zoom, again, Zoom was around. Maybe it wasn't called Zoom, but it was GoToMeeting, WebEx, all the other platforms. They've been around forever. They just were not as readily used or so widespread. Zoom has become the standard, and webinar and virtual meetings have become the standard. And again, as much as people say that they don't like them, there's value in them. I get it. I get worn out. Too many Zooms on top of one another. You can get Zoom fatigue. Absolutely. But this format is an opportunity that has opened up so many doors and removed so many barriers to people accessing things that they couldn't before. Or businesses and companies and coaches and business owners and speakers being able to reach people that they couldn't before. So embracing that as a model is powerful. And people that aren't embracing that are locked into the old way. So one example to give is somebody I know who kicked and screamed about virtual events and didn't want to do virtual, which of course had to all through COVID. Last year, they wanted people to attend a live event only. They weren't making it available virtual because they wanted people to attend live. Now, I get it. Okay, I like to attend events live. There's a different experience. It is a different experience for sure. And you want to create that when you're putting on an event. I get it. But done the right way, you can still have people attend live and offer virtual and have people be able to personalize their experience for what's right for them. And that's the way to look at it. Let each person have the option. Let them decide what's appropriate for them. And why that's an upside for a business owner or the person running the event is that you're removing all the barriers of someone attending. Now, look, here's an example. You may only sell, 1,000 seats live, or if you're a smaller event, 500 live. But if you don't offer virtual, you're shut down at that. If you also offer virtual attendance, you may have the ability to sell an additional 1,000, 2,000, whatever the case may be. There's ways to leverage the technology that we have evolved into as the norm. So let's talk about the evolution of tech products we now use that are mainstream. Many people said that it won't happen, but I remember in my own history working in broadcast when they were talking about the computer and the TV becoming one. I myself thought that would never happen. That was predicted in the mid to late 90s. And guess what? It has happened. So much so that this generation coming up, Gen Z, doesn't even watch TV. All they do is stream. So yeah, they might not be doing it on a computer. They might be doing it on a phone or an iPad or a PlayStation or an Xbox. But it certainly has happened that the TV and a computer device has become one. So, if we could flip our mindset to think, not, that'll never happen, but always be thinking about what's coming, what's cutting edge, what's predicted, what's going to be the transition, what's the evolution, we would be so much more poised to embrace and come up with more opportunities. And that's as long as we're not approaching it as a negative. We're embracing the newness, all the goodness and opportunity. There's so many ways to identify new things and new opportunities in any of those situations. And here's another thing to share about this topic. The resistance to change, in my own experience, is the lack of comfort. And if you just start addressing any of those things with that top of mind, it can already help you break that down. My experience with software, many years, I was in charge of software design for our company, and I experienced firsthand with our clients the change issue. People don't like change. We all know that. And it's okay, because I get that. But understanding and identifying that and working through it is what's important. Because mostly your resistance is because it's different. It's because it will change what you're doing, how you do things, or what you're used to. And that creates the opinion or the bias about it. That's the aversion to it. And so one of the things that I always used to say when people used to say they hated our software was the best way to get them to love this is to come up with a new version. Right? Isn't it true? We all know that ourselves. When we have to go to the new version of Windows, then you love the one you had, where all along you were complaining about it. It was so typical. People didn't like the version of the software they were using, we came out with a new version, they loved the old one. So understand the psychology of this. Be able to meet that up front as a person, first of all. But also, of course, if you're in business, that's so crucial to thriving and not getting caught up or stuck by any change or evolution of the competitive landscape or the technology or just conditions in general. Addressing your resistance to change has nothing to do with whether the replacement or the new way is good or bad. It's all about your mindset or perception of how you deal with that change. The resistance won't stop the evolution of the technology. It won't. And the resistance won't stop the thing from changing. It will only stop you from moving forward. Thanks for joining me today on this shorty episode. I look forward to seeing you next time on the next episode of Finding the Upside. Thanks for hanging out with me today. See you then.